Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Magic Mics, proudly sponsored by our Patreon supporters and CoolStuffInc.com, where you can find cool stuff in stock every day, and our co-sponsor CardHoarder.com, offering the best inventory, prices, and delivery of cards for Magic Online. I'm Evan Irwin, and we get started each week by saying hello to my two co-hosts, Aaron Campbell.
Hey, it's good to be back.
Ruben Bressler.
It is great to be back. How was Gen Con, kids?
Well, I was scared to death that you had left us and the Mortal Coil. Okay?
Yeah, well, you know, I like to keep people guessing.
Yeah, man. But you're cool. And again, I
I'm
like
good
how
now.
we go back to
We're
this
all
well.
good.
We go back to it. You
Yeah.
scare us. But you're good.
I appreciate that, but yeah, we are on the road to recovery.
I do want to give a quick shout out. Speaking of Gen Con, I want to give a shout out to one of our listeners, actually, a young man who goes by Elementor 5x5 in our Discord channel. I had put out the call recently for a place to crash because I didn't know I was going to Gen Con until the very last minute, and I had said something in our pre-show that I was looking for someone to stay with, and he had sent me a message through Discord, and he was like, hey, my friends and I got a suite. You're welcome to come stay with me. Wouldn't take my money. I offered to, pay my share of the room. He wouldn't hear of it. I woke up in the morning on Sunday, and there were donuts and orange juice waiting for everybody. He made sure that there was a hotel key waiting for me when I got there, even though they weren't even in the room. Just really rolled out the red carpet for me, and I would not have been able to go to Gen Con without him. So Elementor, thank you so much. It was very lovely to meet you, and I hope I get to see you again soon. And also one more shout out to the guys over at Commander Central. They are a Commander podcast. They were at GP Minneapolis. They were very, very sweet to me, gave me some free swag. So if you're really into Commander, go check out their show because they're a bunch of sweethearts.
Fair enough. All right. So with that said, we are giving away a $50 gift certificate to CoolStuffInc.com because I am an unoriginal. And it was easy, so leave me alone.
Look, again, it's just like I like getting cash for Christmas. That's what I want. I don't want you to try to guess what I want. So you know what? Get yourself something nice.
At this point, you can pre-order the D&D Ravnica minis. Those are on the website.
Yeah, those are sicko too.
That's some hot fire. I'm serious. That's some hot fire. And when it comes around, by the time it gets here in November, you'll have wanted to have pre-ordered those. That's all I'm saying. This is a tale as old as time.
Yeah.
They're going to run out, and everyone's going to be like, but I want to Ravnica pre-order. Like,
100%.
I'm telling you right now in August, let's get our ducks in a row.
Go pre-order all that Guildmaster's Guide to Ravnica stuff because as far as I can tell, it's going to go sell out like gangbusters. Get the book, get all that good stuff.
You can also pre-order that.
Speaking of that, I can't tell too much about this right now, but I will be at TwitchCon October 26th through 28th, and it may have something to do with the Guildmaster's Guide to Ravnica. So stay tuned on all your Mox Ruby related social media channels for more information having to do with that.
Go on, just drop those hints there. Just
drop a few hints there. If you're at TwitchCon, feel free to stop by.
Absolutely. We also get started with our Trumpet Blast. You can get one if you support us at our highest level on Patreon. Don't have one of those this week, but we might next. And we kick it off with our first pick and giveaway. Of course, the giveaway we've already discussed. $50 gift certificate. Links in the chat. Links on Twitter. First pick, officially announcing next week, we will have the Guilds of Ravnica Complete Set Review Kickstarter. Yep. I have in all of the non-foil Dominaria Kickstarter tokens. Okay, so we got those. They reprinted them. There was an issue with them being off-center. We fixed that thing. We're good. Spoiler alert, in the future, our tokens are going to be full art because it's just too much of a hassle, to be honest. But we're getting in the foils, and once those happen, I've sent out surveys. If you are a backer on our original Kickstarter for the Dominaria Complete Set Review, please check your email, check your spam, make sure you saw that survey thing. It's the only way I can get information from you from Kickstarter. I don't know why they do it that way, but that's why they do it that way. So regardless, I want to get those things sent out. For those who have supported us on Patreon for your rewards, in terms of like end of month, if you support us at like $10, you get tokens and stuff, and at $5, I think you get one of each token. All that stuff has been tracked and will be sent out at the same time as all of the Kickstarter stuff, so we can roll all that stuff together. So next week we'll have that. I've already spoken to an artist that we'll have for our tokens, which is going to be awesome.
A magnificent artist. I'm so excited that he's going to be working with us.
Absolutely. So we will announce that next week. Not the same artist as we had for Dominaria, and should be really cool.
So so that's the headline, folks. Is next week at this time we're launching the Guilds of Ravnica Kickstarter.
Yes. And we want to have things like we want to have special guests again. We had a special reward we talked about that we didn't get to do for Dominaria that we're going to do for this time. It's going to be super cool.
And also, we were very receptive to your feedback. You know, for me personally, it's like I had never done a set review like this before, and so I didn't know what an undertaking it was. And so, you know, I know now to like get a good night's sleep before, and I know how to, you know, make sure I'm fed and I'm rested. And you know, we got kind of slap happy towards the end there. And so I'm actually looking forward to bringing it a lot, you know, harder, you know, in the next set review than I did before. But it was so much fun, and I can't wait to do it again.
For what it's worth,
having a little bit of tread on the tires, we'll know what we're doing this next time. We'll get to work with our good friend Richard Castle, who's our editor for our top tens now as well. Just a spectacularly talented gentleman, and just incredibly patient. Every time I've seen him work with us or any content creator, just a massive fan, and super happy to work with him as well.
Yeah, so I'm super excited. I'm guessing it will be largely structured the way we had our current one, our last one. Again, I'm afraid of playmats just because they're big and they're heavy and they're hard to make and they're expensive, and there's a whole bunch of host of problems with that stuff. However, maybe if I can find some place to make a few of them, maybe we can do a few of them. But again, it's just it gets really overwhelming. Is all I'm saying. And I don't want to let anybody down.
Send us your ideas, tweet at us, email us, all the social things that tell people we exist. However you want to contact us and tell us what you want to see from the Kickstarter. We're open to suggestions. We're not going to take everything, but you know what? Send us some ideas.
There you go. All right. So we had a fantasy draft, a Pro Tour fantasy draft, courtesy. Isn't it ptfantasy.com? Is that right?
I think it's fantasypt.com.
Fantasy PT. I keep doing that wrong. There you go. Yes, fantasypt.com is where you can create your own leagues, and you can invite your friends, and you can draft about different events that happen. And I totally crushed you guys. I totally crushed you. It was not even close. It was crush, smash, smash, and it felt good. I just want you to know that's really good. I don't have the tweet right here to look at.
Well, the Google Doc says that I won.
Yeah.
Wait, what?
Aaron was the winner.
Wait, what?
The Google Doc says that I won.
Wait, I thought I won. I thought
I mean, you might have, but the Google Doc says that I did.
Let me check the points here, because I have the Mr. Orange. Oh no, I'm sorry. It's Mr. Orange 171, Original Estrus 130, and Mox Ruby 118 were the totals. I wrote that down wrong in the notes. Evan's team headlined, of course, with Martin Jews's finals performance, 39 points, thanks to the one of the two most recent Hall of Famers. And everyone on his team, Martin Juza, Lishi Chan, Seth Manfield, Paulo Vitor Damadurosa, Andrea Maguchi, Tsuyoshi Fujita, all with at least 24 points.
Yeah, so I'll take...
So that's
Wow, that is a heck of a tater screen right there. You have tatered wonderfully, Ruben, and...
Pretty darn... Good run there. Aaron's team, led by Tiago Saporito and Team Haruruya Latin, 36 points there.
Okay. All right, buddy. I'm sorry. You tatered, and we are getting a huge kick out of it. It's okay. The point is, I crushed, and it was great, and nobody made less than 24 points on my team, which was like, when my bad players are Mengucci and Vegeta, I'm okay with that. And Paulo Vitor coming through, Martin Jews's crushing it, which was awesome. So yeah, it's not all the time I come out ahead on these things, so it felt good. It felt pretty good.
Yeah, good job.
There you go. Okay, so Ruben and Aaron, you guys are joining a pretty illustrious club.
We are.
Why don't you tell us about it?
So I got an email the other day that was from an address listed as Pro Tour Hall of Fame, no spaces, just one run-on sentence of Pro Tour Hall of Fame, asking me if I wanted to join the Hall of Fame committee, the people who get ballots to choose the members of the Magic Gathering, the Hall of Fame. And of course I said yes, it would be an honor. This is something I've never had before. And if I'm being completely honest, it's something I've never really thought about. It's not really my lane, but I'm certainly happy to have it. And it's funny because after I sent no sooner had I sent the email saying that I would accept, I got an email back telling me to disregard. And I was like, are you serious? It's like, did someone fat finger the Hall of Fame committee invite? Do I not have a ballot? Is it a whoopsies? Is that what's going on here? And then come to find out that they told everybody that because I guess there were some facts in the initial email that weren't accurate. And they were like, no, you still have the ballot. It's cool. And so we all are on the Hall of Fame committee and we get to vote for the next Hall of Famers. And
yay! That's awesome.
Absolutely. Very excited to be on the Hall of Fame ballot. Among others, in addition to Aaron and I, we are going to get to vote other notable pros, including Grand Prix champion and fellow Midwesterner Kyle Bogamus. I know got his invite this year. Our good close personal friend Shaheen Surani.
Nice.
Founders of the Lingering Souls, also on the list. So, it seems like they added a couple of folks, and I am just honored and privileged and humbled to be able to try to make that decision this year. Just a really interesting class coming into the Hall of Fame this year as well. In addition to the players who were already on the list, you also have new eligibility for Andrea Mengucci of Mengucci Cuisine fame, Brad Nelson, Li Shi Chan, and Ken Yukihiro, all eligible for the first team. Reed Duke next year. Reed Duke in 2019. Reed Duke, and also Swedish Kibler Joel Larson eligible in 2019 as well. But this year, Mengucci, Brad, Li Shi Chan, and Ken Yukihiro all added to the list that already was pretty stacked with names. Folks like Seth Manfield, Jerry Thompson, and Craig Wesco. The list goes on and on.
Yeah, looking back here, it looks like it wasn't until 2008 that I had a vote for the Hall of Fame, which, again, was amazing and has been ever since. So, good old 10 years worth of voting people in.
Wow.
I'm both humbled and
appreciative. Later. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, which is great. And we'll get to talk about that, I can imagine, next week, I believe, is sort of the week where we talk about Hall of Fame stuff-ish.
Yeah, next week I think is when it starts getting rolling in earnest.
Fair enough. All right, so move here to Gathering the Townsfolk. Pro Tour 25th anniversary happened this past weekend, as well as Gen Con, as well as EVO, if you care about that type of thing. And
can we talk about that? Oh my God! So for me, the best part of EVO,
right.
I don't normally keep up with fighting games. I didn't even know that some of these games were games. But the best thing about EVO is I found out there was I guess there's a game called Dragon Ball Z, Dragon Ball Fighter Z, and the young man who won that is a black gay furry. Who played in his fursuit on stage in front of thousands of people, and then shortly after he won, he tweeted something effective like "I'm gay and don't you forget it" or something like that. And like there are gifs of him playing, there are gifs of him falling on stage and like in celebration and exhaustion. And that was the story I heard coming out of that. Is like, a furry won the thing, right? I love it.
Nice. Well, you be you, buddy, and you live your best life. All right, live your best furry life.
Sonic Fox is his name. Sonic Fox. Yeah.
Nice. The Sonic Fox. That's terrific. All right. So that said, there was a Pro Tour. It was won over Channel Fireball. Wu, Hull, and Orange all took the crown there. I also note that I really
local boys.
I really appreciate that the trophies were like nice and respectable, and I could put that in my house and not like be ashamed of it. It's not like a weird like Jolly Rancher thing now, which I appreciate. So that's fun. We'll get to the standard brouhaha, if you will, later, where I explain how wrong Ruben is.
Sure. And the rest of the world, apparently.
You've been smacking people down on Twitter all day today.
That's what I do. Look, and I'll tell you why, but we'll get there later.
I'm excited.
It's fine. Okay, no, but we got to
for that segment.
But we got to back up to something that was equally stupid. The Silver Showcase. I sure am glad you guys spent $165,000 so you get the ratings of an Open. Congratulations, guys! You screwed it right up. It is like astounding how bad and pathetic that whole thing ended up being. And then at the end of it, in the finals, were the two Hearthstone guys. And again, nothing against Amaz and Stan Sifka. God bless them. More power to them. No one would have turned down that invite. But like, Wizards. This was a very expensive lesson in what not to do.
Yeah, that was the talk of Gen Con, at least in the circles that I was running in. I spent a lot of time in the Magic area, and that was something everybody was talking about, is how they would have done it differently. Why they weren't watching it, because some people were, because there were people watching the Pro Tour on their phones, like while they were doing things, and I don't know, I just didn't see anything positive about it, unfortunately.
It's just sad, honestly. It was sad. And they're opening cards on camera. You can't talk about how expensive they are, how much money you're going to be raising for these kids, but you know how much money these guys are taking home. It's $150K between them.
I felt bad for Paulo. Paulo had posted a tweet that said something to the effect of he wished he could have done better. He wished he could have done more and brought it home for Magic or something like that. And it was like, oh, Paulo, no. I felt so bad.
I think that there is some silver lining to the Silver Showcase that is worth mentioning. I think that it was interesting that Amaz, who did finish in the top 32 of the Pro Tour with his teammates Brendan Michael DeCandio and Tannen Grace.
Nice.
They had a 6-1 record on day 2 to bring them all the way back up. I think they collected a good $10K paycheck for that finish. He made the finals against Stan Cifka. He opened up a Shivan Dragon, being a well-known dragon mage himself in Hearthstone, and Stan Cifka, having won the Pro Tour with eggs previously, opened a pair of Ruck eggs, and in the finals of the Silver Showcase used them to defeat Amaz in the finals. I had fun watching all the old cards get played. I thought it was interesting and cool. Again, there was a lot of things to be learned from this. It was not well done.
All right, we're gonna move on past them taters. We're gonna, you know what? You add a little butter and sugar and salt. It's good. It's good stuff. It's quality tater. Oh my God! All right. We had ourselves a disqualification in the middle of this. Dan Ward is I don't know exactly how well he is known as a player, but I have heard his name many times before over the years. And let me tell you, you can't play dumb at the Pro Tour. And this
especially after you've won a GP.
Yeah, this is one of those classic, you expect me to think that you don't know how this card works? Let's back it up. During round 7, Ward's opponent activated Aether Vial. And after Ward allowed the ability to resolve, at which point their opponent put a Meddling Mage into play. Ward then attempted to cast Path to Exile on another creature, quote, in response to Meddling Mage, naming a card when there was no window to respond. During the investigation, Ward argued he thought Meddling Mage's ability was a triggered ability upon entering play. Right. However, after investigation, the judges figured out that Ward knew exactly how that card worked, and that gave yourself a DQ. And you can't play dumb, and that's just one of those angle shoots. And we're talking about earlier in the show about Alex Bertoncini is now a bronze level pro or whatever. And it's not that, that it was never that Alex Bertoncini or even Dan Ward are bad Magic players.
No.
They're fine Magic players. In fact, very good Magic players. They just shoot the angles, and you can't shoot the angle. You can't be like, well, no, card word and then just do that at the Pro Tour. No, you can't draw extra cards when you're on camera. It's just can't do that stuff.
Well, the really unfortunate thing was that Dan's entire team was also disqualified with him, and one of the people on his team was Craig Wesco, and that opened up the doors to sort of ask people, because Craig has a pretty pristine reputation in the community, and so there was a lot of talk of Craig being associated with this person. How well did he know him? Did he know? I guess Dan might have had a history of being maybe a little shady in the past. It shed a lot of light on Craig, unfortunately, which I don't think was necessarily deserved, and a lot of discussion sprang from that, and unfortunately the whole team was bumped off, and just a very unfortunate incident.
Yeah, sometimes you just kind of drag down the whole ship.
Yeah, the whole social media response was very strange, I felt. Dan Ward, he's a Grand Prix champion. I mean, we've dealt with him. Tearing again? Is that why you're laughing?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well,
It's okay.
I don't know what the problem is. I texted my roommate. I'm plugged into the internet. I don't know what the problem is.
Fair enough. All right. So, moving on here to MTG Arena, which I have honestly been playing quite a bit of recently. It's been kind of fun to be able to quick draft Dominaria. I've been doing that quite a bit. It still feels a little strange, and I still feel like I'm drafting against an algorithm. You know, there's no, I'm under no pretense that like the picks that are being taken are not necessarily from a human. If that makes sense, it's hard to describe. But they did announce that I think it's a week from Friday, they're going to be introducing Pauper and Momir Basic to MTG Arena. Which,
Wow.
as someone who loves Pauper, that's awesome. Pauper with the sets that are in MTG Arena, I don't know. That's going to be kind of weird.
Well, I've heard
that's
from the people.
weird.
I've heard from the people who are a fan of it that it gives you something to do with those cards. Like I think you might have
Sure.
mentioned, Evan, on a previous show that with this new system, which I'm not terribly familiar with, you can't like delete things, or you
No.
can't like, so you're bound to have some things laying around that you have nothing you can do with. And so maybe this is sort of like a brawl thing where it's like if you have these cards laying around, you can either build yourself a brawl deck or build yourself a pauper deck. And so it just gives you something to do with cards you would otherwise have nothing to do with.
Right, and that's a good thing because, again, you know, once you open a card in Arena, it is yours forever and ever, amen. You're never getting rid of it in any
Yeah.
way, shape, or form, and that's still kind of weird to me, but whatever. But, again, Pauper's
Can we
great.
also talk
I love
about how
Pauper.
it's weird that they're giving you Pauper, but yet there's still this weird gray area of them not acknowledging that Pauper's an official format?
Yeah, that is very strange.
Like we
It's
won't
just
sanction
exhausting.
it or anything, but you can go ahead and play it in our new baby in Arena. It's like,
Right, and they're like, you know, these people who are beta testing are expecting no magic, therefore Pauper is magic. It's almost like it's a real thing, but it's not a real boy because they can't make it one because screw you, that's why. I honest to God, it still feels like they're afraid to sanction it because they feel like they won't make as much money if they somehow legitimize playing with only commons, which
yeah.
I think is silly, but again, I don't know. They don't say, so we don't know. So all we get to do is pontificate.
yeah.
And what may or may not be. Regardless, it's coming. Momir Basic is weird. If you haven't played Momir Basic, it's where essentially you can pay any amount of mana and you have a random creature of that converted mana cost come into play into your control. So you pay 2 mana, a random 2 mana creature from the format, I guess basically any card in Magic Arena, can show up. The problem is there's only one 9-drop, and that's Zakama, and so it's going to be kind of like a weird race to Zakama type thing.
Yeah.
You know? Hope you get the Llanowar Elves so you can get there in front of your opponent, which is the
Right.
thing. You don't get the casting trigger because you're not casting it; you're making a copy. But you do get all the other triggers when
okay.
you attack, which is great.
Sure.
And largely may or may not break that format. So we'll see how they handle that exactly. But again, great things coming to Arena. For what it's worth, I think Arena is kind of shaping up. I'm not totally
I agree.
unhappy with the way that I'm getting rares and mythics or whatever. I still think, the issue, honestly, and this is just for deck building. Like I have one deck on Magic Arena. This is my green-white kitty cat deck, the kitty cat parade deck, and it's fun and all. But honestly, the number one thing that holds you back from deck building on Magic Arena is just the lands.
Yeah.
You just need all the rare lands. So you have to spend all of your rare wild cards on the freaking lands. And you don't have any left for everything else.
Yeah, that's a real problem, and it's a real it's a real hamper on the form of Magic the Gathering in general, and that's always sort of been one of the barriers for entry from Hearthstone people coming into Magic is the mana base and the mana system. So hopefully the economy gets solved and all of that sort of gets worked out.
Yeah, and the way they sort of even explained that it was coming was that, one of the guys on the team took it on themselves on their own time to try to make it work, and then they found it, wow, it's weird, it's like it's fun. And they ran with it. So that always puts me in this weird position of just like, did you pay for their off hours when you decided to use the feature? Because I have a feeling that they probably didn't, and I don't know, and I hope they did, clearly. But that just sort of puts me that, they're doing it because it's a passion project, but at the same time, shouldn't you reward them for their efforts? It's fine. I don't know. Maybe they did. Anyway, moving on here. How much would you say a 9.5 Gem Mint Alpha Lotus goes for?
Ooh,
Wow.
50,000?
No, not a little better than that.
75.
We're a little north on that end. How about, as I pull it up here? Come on, internet, don't fail me. How about $87,672?
Shut up.
Exactly. Oh, and also you get to pay $125 shipping on that.
Oh,
Just so
good.
you know.
I think
So
I
they
might
got
pay
you.
a little bit more for the shipping.
Yeah.
I might splurge a little bit on the insurance for that one.
Well, you'd think that shipping would be included when you're paying $87,000 for a piece of cardboard.
I mean, even cool stuff waives the shipping if you pay for if you buy $100 worth of things. Like,
See,
come
that's what
on.
I'm saying, right? You know, we'll make it nice for you. But yeah, a Alpha Lotus. There were only so many made in the world. There's some really weird, like crazy hyperbolic stuff. And this is a guy who loves hyperbole. Okay, there's some crazy hyperbolic crap going
You
on.
really do.
Thank you. Around old Magic cards on the reserve list of these people who are in the cryptocurrency, who have more money than they know what to do with, and have money in cryptocurrency, which is about as volatile as money gets.
Yeah.
To take that money, get it out of cryptocurrency, and put it into these collectibles, such as an Alpha 9.5 Lotus, where they think one day this card's going to be worth $1 million. And I was like, hold up. Maybe 200K one day. Maybe we'll get to 300K another 25 years down the road. But I'm not exactly jumping to millions of dollars for anything regarding to Magic quite yet.
At less than 2 grams, at 1.8 grams for this Magic card, that puts it at about $48,000 a gram, which makes it more expensive than tritium in price per mass, making it more expensive than gold, platinum, meth, heroin, cocaine, LSD,
good.
or plutonium. All you'd have to do to match diamonds is get to 100K.
Did you know that there are also people who have what they call, I think they're called cracking parties, where they will buy cards, you mentioned the grading, and they put them in these very thick plastic cases and they free them. Like they'll grab screwdrivers, they'll grab, bottle openers, whatever they can find, and they will make a show out of freeing these very expensive cards. And they don't even necessarily have to be like good cards. It can be like Contract from Below or Demonic Hordes or something ridiculous. And yeah, there's pictures all over Twitter I've seen of people just, videos, people will record videos of themselves freeing these cards, and that's sort of a thing too.
Wow. And this is sort of a tangential thing that was brought up to me while I was at Gen Con, and it's more or less sort of something to what was it? Not splash damage, but going infinite. But regardless, an idea to think about. Something that Topps does these days is something called Topps Now, where they will decide to print a baseball card, for example, that day. For 24 hours only, you can buy a copy of this baseball card or whatever, and it commemorates something like, Joe Blow rookie's first hit, first ever on base, or so-and-so's first home run, or so-and-so's first strikeout, or whatever it is. Or just a commemorative version of so-and-so's second baseman because they've been in the club for 10 years or something. Well, they make them for 24 hours, they sell what they sell, and then they shut it off, and they don't sell it ever again. And it's limited to that day, at that time. So you're telling me that if you were to give me a full art, Teferi, Hero of Dominaria, right? They sell them for $50, 24 hours. How many Teferi Hero of Dominaria are you going to sell? I mean, let's just take a full art Llanowar Elf, right? From M19 or whatever. Just take the regular art you got, just make it full art, give it a cool frame, sell it for 24 hours. How many could you possibly sell in that 24 hours? Like, think of the incredible amount of revenue that you could generate on a daily basis by just printing to demand. Print to demand, you fulfill the orders, and that's it.
I mean, from a revenue standpoint, that seems like a good idea, but what would it do for, like, meta games, where if it
was only standard stuff, all of it was standard, I mean, you could go through, or maybe they only do one a week, just so they don't go completely crazy. But, once a week for 24 hours, they'll sell a whatever out of standard, like, a special edition of Braid, or a special edition Planeswalker, or a special edition land, one of the rare lands or whatever, a Sunpetal Grove that features new art by so-and-so. I'm just throwing out ideas. I just thought it was cool.
No,
Somebody brought it up,
think
and I was like, "What if Wizards did this?" And I'm like, "Wow, what if Wizards did that?" Jesus.
I think it's a good idea in theory. It's setting off alarms in my head. Like I don't know necessarily what the downside would be, but it feels. I just get this ominous feeling thinking about it. Like there's got to be a downside to that. Like
Now, this wouldn't be like Nexus of Fate in that it would not be a
Yeah.
new card that you can only get this way. It would be a different version of existing cards. That's the idea. Anyway, we got to keep moving. We got lots of stuff to talk about. Magic the Gathering comic. There's a brand new Magic the Gathering comic coming that's going to celebrate the franchise 25th anniversary. Chandra's Journey is apparently going to be the focus here. It's going to focus on Chandra Nalar, and that's cool. It's drawn by people who's written for Supergirl and drawn by those who worked on X-Men, which is neat. And it's from IDW, who is a very popular publishing house, which is cool. And the series is billed as a fresh start for the franchise with an all-new approach to storytelling. I think this is where we get to see the feet and the frostbite and the toes go away.
And who's partnered with Magic before.
Yes.
yeah, because I have the promo
Very
Faithless
clever.
Looting, and I think the Faithless Looting has that stamp on it of the IDW.
So they've worked together in the
Yes.
past,
Yeah.
which is cool.
Yeah, I'm interested to
and
see what
they've
they do
had
with.
the promo. Sorry, go ahead.
That's okay. I was just gonna say I'm interested to see what they'll do with Chandra, if they're going to change her in any sort of meaningful way. Not that I think she needs to be changed, but when they say things like clean slate or fresh start, you have to wonder like any retconning, like what's gonna happen.
And it's weird when Wizards is like, maybe they just retcon everything. So
Yeah, who knows? They can do what they want. It's their party. And comics do that all the time. And we had this discussion with the storyline a little while back as well. So
fair enough. So
I'm excited.
Yeah. So moving on here, Scryfall.com. If you don't use Scryfall.com,
I don't.
then start because it's fantastic. It is literally the best card database. It is not even close.
that's what I use. Yeah,
It's
I
what
think
Wizards.
Aaron's the only one of us who doesn't use Scryfall.
I mean, Gather, apart from a different UI, essentially a UI update, is more or less the same thing it's been for the past 15 years or whatever. It's the card images are always incredibly small. It's hard to see anything. It's hard to really appreciate Magic cards when you're looking at like resolutions from 2002. And Wizards just will not apparently update those resolutions any higher, except when you go to Scryfall and you get these really awesome large JPEG/PNG images. They give you the option to download the PNGs, which have a clear background, so you can use them in your videos and stuff like that.
Right.
Which is great. And they announced that they are acquiring Magic Cards.info. Now, Magic Cards.info, for the past at least 10 plus years, 12 years, has been part of my life, using that as my go-to Magic the Gathering database. My ability to look up different things and versions and stuff and different, printings and different type of languages and all this other stuff that they gave you over and over again. And essentially, they're kind of going to just merge them right together, which is awesome.
Yeah,
Scryfall
essentially
is a community-funded project, and Magic.cards.info just folds right in.
Yeah, and MagicCards.info made a comment in a Reddit thread talking about how Scryfall acquired MagicCards.info.
My God.
The-
Okay, we
The
have...
human being behind MagicCards.info sort of had fallen away from Magic in a little bit, and
So-
so Scryfall had really become what they wanted MagicCards.info to be, and so
I'm sorry, dude. So, down on your toolbar, where you have the
Yeah.
internet access, if you right-click on it, well, actually, if you just click on it, are you still connected via Wi-Fi? Now, you did plug in the plug.
no, yeah.
Have you turned off your Wi-Fi? Because you could still be using your Wi-Fi connection, which could be a problem. Because if you have a wired connection, that's as good as it gets. And we're trying to move on here. We did buy the man a new computer.
Yeah,
I'm
having my roommate was looking into this.
All right.
Is it working again or no?
It's working a lot better than it has the past 5 minutes.
All right, well, let's give that a shot.
Okay, well, you turned off your Wi-Fi essentially.
I turned off the Wi-Fi.
All right, well, it's already looking better. That's
Great.
a good thing. Terrific. All right, so
let's hope that troubleshot it.
now we've mentioned my employer a few times so far this evening, but
Yeah.
I will note, if you have not, please take a look at CoolStuffInc.com. We have an all-new website. I have a fantastic, talented team of graphic designers who have been busting their butt for weeks and weeks and weeks and months, honestly. Getting all this stuff together, an all-new look, all new way to get stuff, and by God, we have content. If you scroll down just a little bit, or if your screen and or browser is large enough, you'll see it right there. Cool content every weekday, where we're taking Gathering Magic and we are putting it together with CoolStuffInc.com, because Gathering Magic essentially existed before CoolStuffInc.com was involved with the site. Later got involved and sponsored the site, and there was always a rift between Cool Stuff Inc. and Gathering Magic in terms of, you know, if you think of my job as working at Cool Stuff Inc. and trying to promote Cool Stuff Inc., if I'm promoting Gathering Magic, I'm kind of sort of promoting Cool Stuff Inc. And if I'm promoting Cool Stuff Inc., I'm kind of promoting Gathering Magic. But, you know, I can't put those two together.
Right.
And we worked really hard, and we figured out a way to do it, and we've done so. So we have content on the website right now. You can read some articles from Mike Flores, Abe Sargent, who is just like the casual masters on there. There's a bunch of really cool stuff. Adrian Sullivan's talking about the standard taking turns deck that we've talked about, or we will be talking about, which is great. And yeah, so it's been really cool to kind of go through this whole thing. And all the content from Gathering Magic is being put on CoolStuffInc.com. We're doing that where if you had an old link that went to Gathering Magic, instead it will just kind of forward on to Cool Stuff, and so none of that stuff breaks. That also means that we have a deck database. So, and we have what I think is, and feel free to correct me, we have a feature that no other deck database in the world currently features.
Which is what?
If you go to a deck, and I've linked both in the chat and our own chat, so you guys can check it out. I want you to click on mock draws. Now, there's been mock draws in deck databases for a long time, but there's this button there, and it's called hand averages. Why don't you go ahead and click on that one?
Interesting.
And then once you go click on it again, and then I want you to click on it again, and I want you to click on it again.
Wow.
And again. You ever seen stats for 5,000 hands? 5,000 opening hands. It's cool.
Very interesting.
You just tap it 50 times and there you go. You got yourself 5,000. Wow. So you can see the average number of lands, whether they're basic or non-basic, the average number of spells and what type they are, the average spell cost. And again, this to me is just, you know, paging Frank Karsten. This is the ultimate way to look at a deck in a new way. When the programmers were talking to me about this, and I was just like, oh my God, this is amazing.
So let me make sure I understand this correctly. So I'm looking at something that says opening hand stats over 100 hands. And so if I'm understanding this correctly, it's telling me that on average, my opening hand will have 2.98 lands.
That's correct.
And 4.02 spells. And then of the lands possible, at least one of them will be basic and close to two of them will be non-basic. So it's basically telling you, wow.
Yeah.
Giving you, letting you go through all the permutations of seeing all of the hands without necessarily having to shuffle and do it yourself.
Wow.
Really that really cuts a lot of math and busy work out of testing.
Wow. So I'm looking up, so you can choose formats. It does include Brawl, Commander, and Vintage. This is wild.
So,
but you don't have Dredge in here, Evan. Can you? I don't want anyone to lose their job over this.
The deck database is young. We are growing it, and you know, ideally, you know, in the future, you would be able to provide your own decks to see your own stats as you build your decks and change them and stuff, which is going to be great. A friend of the show, Efro, is like, you know, what it only takes a few seconds to figure this out. What are you talking about? It's like, because we're not all poker pros, bro. And I don't know how this stuff really works personally. I just hit the button and it tells me the magical numbers. And again, I also feel like there's some coolness in that I can have an opening hand 5,000 times and tell you the average out of it.
Right, and get a little bit of get the average without having to do the napkin math. You know, we aren't all Frank Karsten. So there was a question in the chat. Does this mean that Gathering Magic as a brand is going away?
Essentially, yes. This is a slow sort of, you describe as sunsetting, where it's not like we're pulling the plug tomorrow, because, you know, Google search engine juice essentially relies on those links being there, and we want to give all the search engines time to realize that it's redirecting to CoolStuffInc.com and you know, get all that stuff updated. So, you know, over the course of 6 to 12 months, you know, Gathering Magic will eventually, you know, be sort of kind of put away and put back on the shelf. But as of right now, it still exists. You can still reach it. It just says, hey, go to Cool Stuff to find the content, because that's where all the stuff is.
I mean, it feels like a natural evolution. You know, if you look at all the other sites, it's like TCG Player, it is centralized. There's not a separate site and then TCG Player, and likewise Channel Fireball and SCG. The name of the store is the name of the site, which is where you find the articles. And I mean, it makes sense. I'm just surprised it kind of took this long, but yeah, it seems great, and it looks great, and I'm excited for it.
Absolutely.
So with this hand averages tool, what else? This is a young tool, obviously. This is a relatively new thing that you've introduced here. And obviously the link here is for Alan Wu's Death and Taxes deck, so you're getting the averages there. But are there other things that we can discern using this tool in, let's say, a non-monocolor deck?
Well, this is one of the things that, you know, it's also great to get community feedback and that, like, look, this was some stats that we came up with, kind of looking at it and saying that, you know, yes, the average number of lands in your hand is 2.77. However, now you know the average number of basic and non-basic. The number of spells is X, but now you know that on average, you know, of those spells, 1.3 of them are going to be artifacts. Almost 3 of them are going to be creatures, and about half of them, you know, part of the time are going to be instants. You know, that
I'm
to me
definitely
is stuff that you can
interested in being able to sort of divvy up exactly which types of cards I'm interested in, because, you know, necessarily knowing if it's a creature isn't going to, like, I would rather know how often do I have a 1-drop, for example, in Death and Taxes, or how often do I have.
That tells you that. It says the average of what your spell would cost or your creature would cost. So it's a little broad, but it might tell you that.
Sure. Right. But what I mean is, like, you know, not just average spell cost in hand, but, for example, average number of 1-drops in opening hand.
Right.
For example.
Feel free to send that feedback to us via the chat, via on Twitter. Like, let me know what to tell a programmer to show us. Like, again, if it's about average 1-drops, average 2-drops, average color configuration, for example, of those lands. That sounds really interesting.
Odds of getting Bazaar in your opening hand.
There you
go.
Bazaar or Serum Powder.
Yeah, there you go. Ruben, you get me. You get
me. There we go. We're doing it.
But ultimately, this is a culmination of March 2017. You know, I kind of sat down with the boss, and I was like, look, I think we need to shut down Gathering Magic, and here's why. And I want to put everything sort of on the one platform, and I'm excited to be able to have a single push of, hey, go to Cool Stuff Inc. for great content. Go to Cool Stuff Inc. to buy your stuff. Go to Cool Stuff Inc. for singles and yada yada, like, and awesome games and RPGs and all this stuff. So we can have a singular voice.
And I know that you have more stuff planned in the future, content-wise, and as that comes out, I'm excited to hear more about it on the show.
Yeah, absolutely. So I've already got some good content from existing creators that you have heard of underway.
Oh, of course.
Which should be very exciting. All right, so let's move on here to Desperate Ravens. I want to get started just really quickly about Commander 2018. There was some amount of teeth gnashing / complaints that Commander 2018 was a letdown, that Commander 2018 is not worth it. And I'm like, you are insane. Yes. Like, first of all, Commander has sold amazingly well. It's not like it's sold worse than before, or necessarily for what's worth that much better. Commander is always a great seller. Like, if you're selling Commander, it's good to be you, because these decks in particular, I think, are incredibly well designed. They have a ton of awesome, fun cards in them. And yeah, you're paying $5 more, but wow, these things are awesome, and they pack a punch, and they have cards that are going to be valuable, and there's cards that are going to be useful. And this is, to me, just sort of like another example of, you know, when Cool Stuff Inc. puts up Commander, you know, decks for pre-order at like $120 a set, you should just probably buy your set and just get it over with, because you'd have saved money.
Yeah, and with characters that are very interesting, I visited the Ultra Pro store when I was at Gen Con, and our friend Jeremy Noel was working behind the counter, and I bought every single thing with Aminatu's face on it I could buy. It was so funny. I was like, I'll take the sleeves, I'll take the playmat. I go up to the counter, and Jeremy's like, do you want the deck box too? And I was like, there's a deck box? And I was like, yeah. And so I turned around, I rushed over, I grabbed the deck box, and damn it, I was like, I need everything with her face on. I'm so excited about that character. I think a lot of the complaints that I'm seeing about Commander really boils down to a case of it's just not for you. And that's okay. Yeah. But, I got into Commander thanks to a pre-con. Daxos was the deck that really got me into Commander. I paid my $30 for the Daxos pre-con. I went over to MTG Goldfish where they had an upgrade series. I put $20 worth of cards into it, and I had a good Daxos deck that was regularly crushing pods. I've also done the thing where a new Commander set comes out, and me and 3 of my friends will each buy a deck, crack it open, buy some snacks, and make a night of it. And so, for the people it's aimed at, it does what it's supposed to do. It's not meant to be for the veteran Commander players. It's meant to be for the people who are, either completely new to it or kind of on the fence about it and can upgrade it. And if you happen to be a more seasoned Commander player and you can get into it, great. But I feel like a lot of the people who are not happy with it, it's just not for you. And being able to identify that when it happens, I think, is a very crucial skill that a lot of people lack, unfortunately.
I would, and if you want to check out more of the Commander stuff, I would encourage y'all to go check out Geek and Sundry's How to Play series, where today, just before our show, they played Commander.
I know, because I said hi to you in the chat, and you didn't say hi back.
I didn't see you in the chat. I apologize.
I tagged you and everything.
I'm so sorry. At this point, I can only apologize. But among people who were on the show was a friend of the show and Game Night's co-host, Josh Lee Kwai, who had himself a heck of a game. And got to do some cool stuff with the new card Emissary of Grudges that we talked about on the last episode. And all of the new commanders had some really cool stuff going on. Saheeli went crazy. Josephine had so much mana going on. It's just a really cool, really fun game. And yeah, I would encourage, especially for new folks, people new to Commander, go check that one out.
That's fantastic. So all I'm saying is that, and it's funny, like, rarely do I sort of agree with Rudy from Alpha Investments, but he was also, it's like, guys, that every Commander product's been fantastic, right? Even the ones he wasn't super high on, they're all great, and they're
all great.
Our friend, also a friend of the show, and all-around terrific person, Teresa Nielsen, has been let's just say it, she's been making some bank.
She is getting coin.
Woo!
And I'm not mad.
No, she earned every penny of it. We're talking $35,000 for the most recent Chandra Torch of Defiance original painting for the San Diego Comic-Con promos. Oh my God, that's a good chunk of change right there.
It's not bad.
That's decent.
That's encouraging the artists to come out with these physical copies also, I think. Being able to sell an original piece for a large number is encouraging people to go back to these traditional styles, whereas we were in a digital age for a couple of years there.
Yeah, and I mean, first of all, I agree, and I appreciate that it encourages the artists. I also like that it sort of rewards the artists who work in these physical mediums. The Howard Lyons and the Therese Nielsen's, like, that stuff is tough. And in my opinion, just what I know of artists, it's a little bit more difficult to use the physical oils and whatever than it is to move around some pixels.
Yeah.
So, and they also can paint it, in the real world and then scan it in and do some touch-ups. I've also seen that. But the idea that, artists don't get paid enough has been a point of contention in the past. Peter Moorbacher famously, lit that bridge and watched it burn, as he basically said that Wizards doesn't pay enough. And this to me says Therese is getting her, what essentially she can make. I love it that essentially the sky's the limit in terms of what she can get in terms of compensation for doing this incredible work.
Yeah, I really like seeing the trails that her and Noah Bradley have blazed in terms of inspiring artists to really go after what they're worth. Noah's been very vocal about his signature costs and how, he's worth paying $1 for each signature for, and Therese with these things. And, we're going to talk about a new Kickstarter in a minute that I'd like to think was inspired by Seb's Kickstarter and John Avon's Kickstarters. Sure. And so, I like that these artists who maybe thought these things weren't possible, it's totally possible. Like, you too can have a successful Kickstarter. You too can have tokens and playmats, and people will buy these things, and I hope that every one of them, you know, finds their groove and gets those coins, because they're worth every penny.
Yes.
If we can have a successful Kickstarter, you can have a successful Kickstarter, y'all. Come on now. But yeah, so the Liliana went for $22,950. The Nissa went for $25,600, and now the Chandra went for $35,000. So we're
the Chandra was
Whew.
That's the prize.
Right.
That's the brass ring.
So we're at almost 90K, and we're not even done auctioning all of them off yet. So so that's terrific, and I am super happy for Therese and her partner Dawn. They are terrific people and deserve all the success.
Bacon on her cheeseburger, and she's getting Colby. She's getting
get everything she wants.
Fried pickles. Put it all on her.
All right. Well, let's spread that success around. Johannes Voss has his 2018 Magic the Gathering print collection. I'll put a link right here in the chat. Currently has raised $13,000 of a goal of around 11.5. So already funded. 31 dadays to go. We got almost 300 backers. That's terrific. Some amazing prints of some of his recent work, which has been awesome. He's done stuff like Gift of Orzhova. Restoration Angel.
Oh my God!
There's a ton of work that you would be more than happy.
Did you see that Saproling?
Oh yeah,
the Saproling is amazing.
Oh my! Look how cute that is.
Like the cherry blossom Saproling is so nice.
Yeah,
I hurt. It's so cute. I hurt.
Nice. And these are the types of sort of fundraising that help artists sort of move along in life. Pharmacist Judge here in the chat says that he was talking to an artist at Gen Con. She commented that a magic painting on eBay bought her new windows on her house. And that's terrific. That is fantastic. That'll get you a new bathroom, for example, or whatever.
Restoration Angel, Survivor Token, Evra Halcyon Witness, Gift of Orzhova, all the hits, Blood Artist, Angelic Destiny.
If you want someone with magic wings or interesting lighting, Johannes Voss is the guy for you. Both copies of Thalia promos, I believe. Commander's Authority is a big famous one with the lighting as well. So on
Sarah's Wings,
a ton of great stuff.
Did Estrid the Masked from the most recent
the
Commander
new
set.
Estrid the Masked looks really nice.
Yeah, so,
tokens. Yeah.
So this is a way to again support magic artists, get some amazingly gorgeous art, and do so at a very direct way. So it's great that you have these avenues to directly support somebody whose work that you enjoy. Cool. Magic Online did their mid-year update. You don't hear a lot about Magic Online because these days it's all arena. But Magic Online still exists. It still makes money for Wizards, and until those streams cross and it doesn't make as much as Arena does, then we're still going to have it. And they're like, hey guys, this is great. We're doing great keeping up with the paper releases, and we're not going to with Commander 2018 though. We'll see those later in the year. So that's cool. That's fine. So the bad news, they do not have a timeline or guarantee when they're going to be able to add cards from ancillary products such as Battle Bond and Commander 2018. So they're going to work on that. However, what they did announce was Chaos Drafting. And Chaos Drafting on Magic Online sounds like the funnest freaking thing ever.
It does sound great.
They already have all the packs. They already have all the cards from the entire length, from all the online master sets to all of the, the sets that you can get all the way back to what Urza's Apocalypse was like the first set that they ever had on Magic Online. So everything from there forward. And that sounds absolutely incredible. I can't wait to try it.
Is that going to have any impact on card availability? Because there are still some older cards that go for a pretty penny on Moto, and so do you think that's going to make a dent in that?
Not a bit, because these are all phantom drafts.
Okay.
Which is fine. You don't keep the cards, but you get to play with the cards, and of course you get prizes on top of that.
Okay.
This starts on August 22nd, Wednesday, August 22nd, and I will be there with bells on. I cannot wait. I believe.
Hello, everybody.
Because look, is that the weekend that I'm doing the streaming? Because I need to know that. I think that is.
Your Patreon stream is the weekend of the 18th or 19th.
Then you better be doing some chaos drafts for that stream.
I
because-
accidentally
People don't play
volunteered
sealed.
to my
But-
Patreon draft this coming Sunday because next Wednesday in the update we're getting the Pro Tour Cube. Shout out to Eric Klug and the Pro Tour Cube for Magic Online. I will be doing nothing but doing that for 2 weeks in a row. So
That's
Meanwhile,
awesome.
I will be practicing for Eternal Weekend and trudging through a field of paradoxical outcome decks. Restrict that card already.
Oh my God.
it's
That-
Green Sun Zeniths.
I
that
still
card's
can't
so
believe
fucking
that
awesome.
happened. Like, oh my god.
Oh boy. So we'll come
We
back to
gotta move
these.
on.
Right. We'll come back to these other stories if we have time, but we got
Yeah.
to get to the red zone.
It's time for Evan and his soapbox. Now, this particular edition of the Red Zone is exciting for me in particular because it's not Evan against Ruben. It's not Evan against Aaron. It's Evan against everyone else on the planet.
Yeah.
No.
So, Evan, take it away. I'm interested to see where we go.
Okay, well, let's define the issue. The issue was at the Pro Tour, the best, the highest winning percentage deck was Turbo Fog, featuring 4X Nexus of Fate. Nexus of Fate being the buy a box promo meant that the supply of Nexus of Fate is more or less constrained in that regard. As a result, Nexus of Fate has jumped up to $30 to $45, or $30 to $40 rather, depending on where you are. I've seen it as cheap as €6 to €8, depending if you wanted to get a foreign language version, for example. So I don't think the crazy high cost is that crazy, at least as defined. Everyone lost their mind when Nexus of Fate turned out to be playable in Standard, let alone in a popular deck. I would note that we have a whopping one event where it was incredibly well positioned and no one saw it coming. So when you have one event that was great for the deck, was great for the event, and no one saw it coming, okay. I've already been talking to local players who are going to be playing in GP Orlando, and the black-red deck, by the way, is going to add 4 Duress and 3 Doomfall, and then that deck can't win ever. And they've been testing it, and it's like, that deck cannot win when you play 4 Duress and 3 Doomfall. It just cannot do it. So, yes, it was well-positioned. Yes, it was good at the time. Yes, there's a fervor, and that wizard screwed up, and this is the worst thing ever. But I just don't see it. I see it being a part of the metagame that is important to keep things in check, that if Red-Black aggro, A, gets too good again, and B, forgets about Dre, a.k.a. Nexus of Fate, then it can be caught in check, which is great. But for me, the other side of this argument is for your friendly local game store. I don't want everyone to turn their nose up at the Buy a Box promo because the amount of revenue generated for your friendly local game store is real, is important. And they're just like, Evan, you were for cool stuff. Of course you want to. No, man. We got 7 stores. There are 3,000 stores in America alone. This is not just cool stuff talking here. This is like the friendly local game store is going to sell booster boxes again. And this is also something people miss. The booster boxes are going to sell. I don't care how bad the set is. Booster boxes, when they first release, are going to sell. Where are you going to buy those booster boxes? Before this Buy a Box promo, it was more or less in your best interest to wait for the big mass drops, for the big eBays, to take advantage of some eBay, whatever percentage off sale or whatever, so they could race to the bottom and sell every booster box for as thin as they could get it. Versus now being able to pre-order your box at your friendly little game store, get a bonus $20 bill attached, sometimes higher, with the Buy a Box promo, and be able to pick it up on pre-release weekend. All 3 of those things have made an incredible impact for the cash flow of your friendly local game store because they have to dish out all the money and then get in all the product and then sell all the product. And before, that took a much longer time. And literally any game store owner that you talk to, at the very least, a ridiculously high percentage of them say, we've never sold this many boxes before release. We've never seen this type of revenue before release. And it's continued even with M19. Even with M19, which was no Dominaria, it still happened. And it cool stuff. Yeah, we didn't sell them as fast as we did with Dominaria, but yet they all sold. And they all sold before boxes that normally did. And that is huge. And so you have these people on Twitter who are just like, the friendly game store is supported by single sales and and events. And I'm like, yes, of course it is. But it's also a lot of money to buy a lot of Magic product and have it sit on your shelf and hope that you can sell it as fast or faster than those people on Massdrop and eBay who don't have to have event space, who don't have to pay for all these employees, and don't have to keep the lights on for you and me to play Magic. Like, this stuff is important. So that's what I got. There's your out.
I enjoyed that. That was fun. I hope somebody clips that.
I still can't believe that we're here. Like, I still can't believe that a 7-mana time walk is what's behind all of this. Like,
yeah, it's been a while since we've had a good time warp. So
like, I didn't even know what the win condition was. Like, I knew that this was happening. But I went on Twitter today and I was like, what exactly are you doing with that extra turn? Are you casting Glimmer of Genius? Like, if you're playing an older format, like if you're playing Vintage and you Time Walk, you're getting an Oath Trigger, you're getting a Blightsteel swing, you're a Mentor swing. Like, you're getting a game-ending turn there. And, like, when I think extra turn, I just
Vintage.
Standard. Like, what are you doing in Standard where you need an extra turn? And then someone explained it to me that it works with Teferi, it works with the Karnstrucks, and you're sort of forming this loop, and that's really where it gets out of hand. But up until then, I was like, what are you doing? What do you need with an extra turn in Standard? Like, come on. Like, it's absurd.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, kudos, Evan. I enjoyed that. That was very nice. I hope somebody clips that and shares it on the internet. But as per usual, you're wrong and I hate you. So, and you're not as wrong as usual.
Oh, thank you.
So I don't hate you as much.
Appreciate
I
that.
totally get everything where you're coming from. I think that all of your arguments are sound. The problem is that it's not a problem specifically with the card. It's not a problem specifically with that it being a 7-mana time walk, or that it fits in this niche deck, or that it's even that particularly popular. The fact that it even is a playable card but isn't openable in a pack of Magic cards in a standard legal expansion just is a problem. So, Grand Prix Los Angeles is coming up, not this weekend, but the next weekend. We have no idea what percentage of the field is going to be Nexus of Fate.
Well, Orlando's this coming weekend, and I'm
Orlando
already
Standard?
Orlando's this weekend,
Orlando
and
Standard.
I'm already seeing players say, I need this. I don't know how to get it. The boxes are nobody local has it. It's already happening that people are panicking over the lack of availability.
Right. So there's no way to know whether it'll be 5% of the field because of availability, or if it'll be 15% of the field because of availability, or whether it's even a good deck. We have no data really from the Pro Tour because team events are really, it's a team event, so take it with a grain of salt. Everybody mark that off of your bingo sheet. There's no way to know from this Pro Tour metagame exactly how good this deck is. And so but beyond that, you have this other cryptocurrency-like volatility associated with this card that, oh, by the way, happens to be playable and necessary in a playable deck as more than just a one-of. So it's less an issue with the card itself and more an issue with the entire theory of the Buy a Box promo not being available to be opened in the pack to begin with.
All right, I'm gonna jump in here, and I've heard both of your arguments. I've taken notes, as I'm wont to do, and
Judge Aaron, here we go.
Great.
I think I'm gonna have to side with Ruben on this one, and here's why. So, Evan, correct me if I'm wrong, but weren't you upset about the that limited edition Chinese set? And how those cards weren't going to be available for Standard, and how that was not good, and how that was troublesome. So I guess I'm just concerned as to how that's a bad thing. Like you rightfully called out that for potential issues with availability and some people having access to the cards and some aren't. But then how is this fine? Like, isn't it the same argument that there's a card out there that some people can use and some people can't, and isn't it similar?
You're letting Nexus of Fate slide, but no moon-eating dogs, Evan?
Look,
it just sounds like a similar argument.
Sure, and for what it's worth, it is. And it was also one of the things that when I was talking online with Seth, Saffron Olive, where he said, well, aren't you just moving the goalposts? When I said, well, look, this isn't Smuggler's Copter, this isn't the end of the world, it's a good deck, it was good for the event. For what it's worth, this is the last deck you should be playing this weekend, in my opinion. Don't get anywhere near this deck because it has a giant target on it. This is, you basically painted a target on yourself, but whatever. That aside, for me, I do agree that the goalpost is moved because I see the goodness in it. People were just like, well, couldn't you just do like an alternate art, whatever? They used to. And that was so bad that you don't even remember they used to do that. That's how bad it was, and no one gave a crap. And they could never sort of like pick the right rare or whatever. Like,
yeah, they had a lot of strikes and gutters when they used to do it that way. Sometimes you'd get Day of Judgment, which is, you know, a playable card, but certainly not worth value.
Right.
And sometimes you'd get Celestial Colonnades, which are $70 a piece.
I also think that, you know, I don't believe Wizard wanted this to be in a standard playable deck, let alone a successful standard deck. I don't think that was the goal. But I also, for me, you know, essentially, I feel for those game store owners. I'm telling you, when the buy box first showed up and everybody was like, this sucks and we hate it, derp, derp. And then, like, everyone went out and bought the boxes, and the sales were there for those stores for the first time. And Rosewater came out and said, look, we have gotten an unbelievable amount of positive feedback from WPN stores. And, like, there's a reason for that. Like, I want to keep WPN stores.
It's a real lose-lose scenario for Wizards of the Coast to try to pick a rare. Because if it's a rare that is good that can't be opened in packs, you have this problem. And if it's a rare that's bad, then nobody wants to buy the Buy a Box promo anyway. Like, it's not special.
But can you blame them for thinking that a 7-mana time? I can understand why Wizards would think it was safe.
Sure.
Like at face value, it's awful. Like, I don't understand. And
it's been a long time since a Time Warp has been any good in Standard.
I mean, I remember
particularly a 7-mana one.
Yeah, I mean, I remember even when, and maybe this is terribly different, but Aminatsu's Augury, when that card was spoiled, it cost 8, and people were, or even Commander players. Commander players were saying 8 mana is too much. The mana cost is too damn high. But here's a 7 mana in Standard, and people were like, game on! Like, what?
Because it was an instant and stuff, and I understand.
Sure, but
I understand the reasoning. For me, again, I don't want to take anything away from these stores who suffer enough, man. Like, again, cool stuff's going to be fine. It doesn't matter if they get rid of this or if they keep it. You know, the Card Kingdoms and the Star Cities, whatever, man. Going to roll with the punches. But, like, Joe Blow in the strip mall, like, this was a big deal. This was an actual big deal to them.
But when you have I mean, I guess I just feel like there should be a happy medium. Like, I agree with you that the stores too often get shortchanged, and they don't often get their due, and they certainly don't get, you know, what they deserve is being exclusive previews and that. But you also have players who are, in all seriousness, thinking of buying boxes for this weekend solely to get that one card because their competitive game, their livelihood in some cases, you know, hinges on playing a good deck this weekend, and they believe that to be a good deck. And so I just worry that the pendulum swung too far to the left, where you know, now the players are being completely neglected, and they're having to go through these ridiculous hoops to remain competitive. And I think it's just swung a little too far for me.
It took 25 years, but Nullithalni Dragon finally ruined Magic the Gathering, but it was just called Nexus of Fate.
Yeah,
I don't think it's the end of the world. And again, I think it's one event.
I agree. It's not the end of the world. Sorry.
No, you're fine. I just think it just went a little too far to the left.
I agree. It's not the end of the world, but it did dent. Like, this was not great. This was a miscalculation on Wizards of the Coast's front. I don't think that anything has been permanently damaged here.
Yeah, and to be clear, I don't think it means there should be no more buy the box promos. I agree with you. I like them as a concept. I'm just not sure. I'm not sure how we avoid this from happening again. But I do like the buy a box promos. But I also do think that there has been harm caused here.
Fair enough. And note here, again, friend of the show, Efro, Eric Froelich, noting that essentially the broken part is Teferi. Like,
yeah, Teferi's the real problem, obviously.
Teferi was legitimately pushed, and I've spoken to some R&D members, like, Teferi was where they wanted the power level to be. Like, Teferi's the good thing. This is that's going to push the metagame where they want it to go, and it certainly did that. Unfortunately, it kind of dragged Nexus of Fate down with it. So, again, those are your arguments, everybody. Feel free to let us know in the comments on social media, right here in the chat, how wrong or right we were or are about all this stuff. That said, some other stuff. Do I think they're going to ban Teferi? Absolutely not. But then again, I made a whole show one time called "They're Never Going to Ban Jace the Mind Sculptor," and never were.
That's true.
Yeah. So we're gonna turn the corner here really shortly, but I do want to go to Splash Damage. I felt like a very important article on game culture, gaming, the game industry, particularly the video game industry, not necessarily the board game industry or the card game industry, about Riot Games. On Kotaku, there was a huge investigative piece that was put up today, where they essentially noted that it's kind of a bro-filled, you know, Yeah, broski, male only, guys get promoted, girls get talked over, never be put in leadership positions, can't really retaliate for fear of, getting knocked out of your career or getting hurt in the company or getting fired. And it's just one of those things that when you see an expose like this, you go, wow, this is kind of runs deep.
This was I think almost a year-long investigation. This was sort of like almost like a Ronan Farrow style piece of like, over 24 people contributed to this and sort of talked about the culture of Riot Games. And, this is something that unfortunately is not unique amongst these gaming companies and even just in tech in general. We're seeing a lot of talk about, Twitter and sort of the systemic issues with Twitter, and that, a lot of these issues that have come to light are really starting from the bottom. We like to ask why, culture is the way it is and why these companies are the way they are. You really have to look to the organization. And this article did a really good job of probing, even at the interview level. There was one story I found particularly hilarious as a World of Warcraft player. There was a young lady who had been in a job interview, and they make this big to-do about like, we only hire gamers and this whole thing. And I guess there was a guy who asked her like what trinkets she was wearing. But this was in like 2004 when there were only like 3 trinkets. And so like to ask somebody that, and they weren't even that readily available. So it's like, is this a trick question? Like, do you even know how the game works? And so, on the one hand, they want this sort of pro gamer culture, but yet they seem to not even be understanding the games in themselves. And there were just a lot of really questionable stories there and a lot of questionable business decisions. And, ultimately, a lot of these companies are sort of going through this problem or this issue of, not really knowing what they were getting into. They were small, and now they've gotten much bigger, and things have kind of spiraled out of control. And it'll be interesting to see, how Riot deals with this.
From what I understand, and obviously I have a little bit more insight because of my current roommate situation, my buddy Josh Sutherland knows a lot of the folks in the esports industry. Apparently, folks knew that this article was coming for a long time and that this was not a huge surprise to the people working at Riot. And more than that, is probably not going to have a massive change or impact on the culture in general. This is sort of an open secret. Like everyone sort of knew that this was the culture, not just of Riot, but Riot's emblematic because of how big they are, how iconic they are. The other thing is that Riot's not the monster that it used to be. It's not the necessary piece of the resume fodder that you need if you're working in esports or working in gaming that it used to be maybe 5 years ago. And so, I don't think there's going to be a ton of blowback. There's not going to be that much of a cultural shift, I would doubt. Although, when Riot heard that this article was coming out, they very quickly updated their terms of service to include a diversity rider, which I thought was quite interesting, of course, trying to cover before anything else comes out. So we'll see how it goes forward. It's tough to predict exactly how these sort of expose kind of articles go. I'm not sure there was too much that was terribly surprising, just so much that was disappointing. In these articles, which is, I think, the theme with these types of things.
Yeah, it's just, the bro culture, and, it's like working in a giant fraternity. And, these are the companies.
They said that there was a conference where, like, they walk into the meeting room and some guy, like, farted on another guy's face in the boardroom. Like, are you serious?
Yeah,
like,
very, very juvenile style culture. Again, though, this expose was not designed to make anybody look good. So
it's true,
but it was really good. I feel like it was well. I felt like it was well researched. It's
absolutely
a lengthy read, and I thought it did. I thought it did the topic justice.
Yeah, I don't remember exactly who the quote was from, but something along the lines of, "It's not journalism if you're not pissing somebody off."
Exactly.
So there you go. That said, we need to turn the corner to the finisher, but first we will give away our $50 gift certificate. Congratulations to Eric K. from Sacramento, California. You have won yourself a $50 gift certificate, $50 in cash to CoolStuffInc.com to get you whatever your heart desires. So provided the information to Miss Erin. If you wouldn't mind getting him that stuff, that would be awesome.
Email you that code after the show. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you very much for participating. But as we turn the corner to the finisher, last night on The Late Show, host Stephen Colbert, and action star Joe Manganiello. Is that right?
Close enough.
Manganiello. There we go.
Joe Southern.
Joe Southern, y'all.
Yeah.
Of the movie version on Magic Mike and Magic Mike XXL fame. Not this here podcast version of Magic Mike's, but hey, Joe, if you want on the show, get out of me. Absolutely. Call us. We will call you, and you can call us. Waxed Poetic, all about their nerdy exploits on stuff like The Hobbit, the Iron Lance novels, Growing Up Dorky, and of course their mutual love of Dungeons and Dragons. We all know that being a big dork is cool now, what with the comic books dominating the box office, werewolves and vampires and monsters all over TV, and scientists and physicists being the new rock stars. So now that it's our time to shine, fellow dweebs, what's the next bridge for magic to cross in the completion of the geek that shall inherit the earth? Ruben?
I think that Magic is poised for a real pop culture breakthrough, and on the cusp of the wave is going to be an internet channel original series. We've already seen the popularity of things like Harmon Quest, and we're close to the release of Matt Groening's Disenchantment, adding to their fantasy motif. So coming this fall, bringing the best new deck in vintage Magic to an internet television channel near you, Stranger Things. If you're familiar with old school deck naming conventions.
Old school. Aaron?
Well, now that Magic is in the forefront, but the movie deal seems to have fallen through, I think that the obvious next step is an HBO series. And it fits perfectly. There's plenty of intrigue and politics and soldiers and mothers of dragons involved in this summer's new hit show, Game of Zones. With the Exile Zone, the Graveyard Zone, Stack.
Yep.
Lots of intrigue going with the Commander Zone this summer.
Oh, wow. Well, there you go. Well, let me tell you. Augmented reality. That's the future, people. You have a headset, you have the AR hookup, and boom, there you go. Imagine the finals of the Pro Tour being fought in real time. 3D Teferi versus 3D Chain Whirlers battling live on your Twitch headsets, or more realistically, I guess, turn after turn of hazy, misty fogs, and of course, crisp, clean $100 buy a box promos.
Love it. Three-dimensional, right in your headset. Nothing but
crispy. Oh my goodness. That ends another episode of Magic Mike's. Thank you for joining us here live to discuss all things Magic. Thank you, Aaron.
Thank you for having me. It's good to be back.
Absolutely. Thank you, Ruben.
Thank you for troubleshooting my laptop. I don't know what the world was the problem, but I flipped a switch and suddenly it worked. So
10 years in IT, buddy.
You 10 years in IT and it fixed the potatoes. So good job.
I fix a mean printer, let me tell you. All right, moving here to our final slide. I want to thank our sponsor, CoolStuffInc.com, our co-sponsor, CardHoarder.com, my co-host, Aaron Campbell and Ruben Bressler, you guys for watching, and hope you support us at Patreon.com/MagicMikes. And I am also not forgetting to thank our subscribers on Twitch.
Ooh,
great.
We have some bits from Morkroth, which is appreciated, from Chicken's Lags sub button, which is fun. J-Dubs 2008, thanks for the bits, which is fantastic. And let's see here. We have Happy Side of Fear 777 has subscribed. Thank you very much for the subscription. Shrengar subscribed via Prime. Thanks very much. The Maverick Girl, thanks a lot for resubscribing on Tier 1 for 3 months. 3 months, hype. Thank you so much. The Immortal Squee resubscribed for 4 months. Thank you very much for that, which we appreciate. And all those who happen to follow us and give us feedback throughout the show.
We also got some bits from Drunk Gaming, so thank you for that as well.
Drunk Gaming, yes.
And J-Dubs 2008, right up there up top. That said, please follow, like, tweet, favorite, share, subscribe to everything social that tells people we exist. Catch us online at twitch.tv, at Magic Mike's, on Twitter at Magic Mike's Cast, our Magic Mike's subreddit, and like the Magic Mike's page on Facebook. Talk to us privately at magicmikespodcast@gmail.com. Follow the audio-only podcast at Magic Mike's Podcast at libsyn.com, or find us on iTunes, or join us here right next week. Same time, same place, for another episode of Magic Mike's. Good night, everybody.
Catch me on the Patreon stream on Sunday, too. See you then.
Woo, woo.